I'm going to reread a portion of it, starting in verse 11. Then he said, "A certain man had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father, 'Father, give me the portion of goods that falls to me.' So he divided to them his livelihood. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together, journeyed to a far country, and there wasted his possessions with prodigal living. But when he had spent all, there arose a severe famine in that land, and he began to be in want. Then he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into his fields to feed swine. And he would gladly have filled his stomach with the pods that the swine ate, and no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, 'How many of my father's hired servants have bread enough and to spare, and I perished with hunger? I will arise and go to my father, and will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you, and I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants.' And he arose and came to his father. But when he was still a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion, and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. The son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and in your sight, and am no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to his servants, 'Bring out the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and sandals on his feet, and bring the fatted calf here and kill it, and let us eat and be merry. For this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found.' And they began to be merry." And we're going to stop there. We're going to stop there because my desire is to mine all we can out of this parable. So I'm going to divide it into 3 separate messages, each one focused on one of the 3 main characters. So first, tonight we have the younger son. Next week we'll look at the older son. And 2 weeks from now we'll look at, finally, the father. I want to save that one for last. So for tonight, the younger son is our focus. That's why I stopped at verse 24. And his story, his arc in this story comes to us in 3 stages. His rejection of home, his return home, and then his reception when he comes back home. So let's start with stage 1. The story just begins very abruptly. A certain man had 2 sons, and then Jesus gets right into it, what the younger son does, what he says to his father. He demands his portion of the inheritance. So in Hebrew law, the firstborn son was entitled to 2/3 of the estate, and the younger sibling was allotted the final 1/3. So an older brother, I'm okay with that. 2/3 for the firstborn and 1/3 for the younger. The idea was for this to be the inheritance for the sons after the death of their father. That's the purpose of the law. But this young man approaches his dad and rudely demands that his portion be given to him now. He's not going to wait for his dad to die and pass his belongings on. He demands it now. Look at the language. Father, give me the portion of goods. Just those 3 words. Father, give me. This gesture communicates a lot about this son's heart toward his father, doesn't it? He couldn't care less about his father. All he's concerned with is his father's stuff, his father's estate. It's hard to imagine a dignified patriarch like the father in this story stooping to meet this shameless son's demands. But that's exactly what the dad does here. He gives the son his portion of the inheritance. He divides his livelihood, or the word is literally his life. He divides his life and gives the portion to his younger son that he was entitled to by law. This younger son is essentially saying this: Dad, I don't care if you die today or if you die 10 years from now. Just give me what I'm entitled to out of your home and out of your goods. I don't care how much longer your heart keeps beating. Just give me your stuff. This younger boy is physically home. He's physically in his father's house and in his father's presence. Physically. But his heart is out there somewhere else. He's right there talking to his dad face to face, but his heart is a million miles away. Out there somewhere is where he wants to be. Out there is where his treasure is. Not his father, not his family, not his home. His riches, his desires are out there somewhere. There's a burning desire in this young man for something that he can't find in his father's house. There's a burning passion in him for something that his dad hasn't given him. You know, James 1:14 says that each one of us is tempted when we're drawn away by our own desires and enticed. That's the description of this young man.